Hey everyone, in this video let us discuss everything about qualitative analysis of a simple inorganic salt. So this is an aspect which comes under practical chemistry, which is included for competitive examinations like NEET, JEE and etc. So let us discuss all the theoretical aspects of qualitative analysis of inorganic salt. Okay, see here, first let us try to understand what do we mean by inorganic salt. So you take any salt, salt will always have two parts. One is a cation. So it is made up of two ions, especially if it is an inorganic salt, it is ionic in nature. It means it is made up of two ions. So you will have one cation and you will have one anion. Okay, so cation is a positive ion and anion is a negative ion. So this is a very fundamental aspect. Cation will always come from base and anion will always come from acid. Okay. See here, how is a salt formed? We all know salt is formed famously by a reaction called neutralization reaction, isn't it? So what is our neutralization reaction? Whenever an acid combines with a base, the product formed is salt, isn't it? So here, suppose if you take a base NaOH and I will take a acid HCl. So what would happen here is OH from a base, H from acid would come out as water. So what is formed? So NaCl. So here Na is present as Na plus, Cl is present as Cl minus, right? So here look at the positive part, it will always come from, see, Na plus, this has come from a base, whereas this negative guy has come from acid, isn't it? So in any salt you take, positive part will always come from a base. So this positive part or cation can also be called as basic radical. Okay, and the negative ion will always come from an acid. So this anion is always called as acid radical. Okay, so this is a small introduction about the inorganic salt. Fine. So qualitative analysis in the sense, see, in your laboratory examination, they will give a salt. See, salt is not NaCl always. Many people would think even at this point of time, salt means it's NaCl. No, salt means there are so many types. Sulfates are salts, chlorides are salts, carbonates are salts, nitrates, iodides, bromides, okay, nitrites, right? So all of them come under a salt category. So they will give you one salt, okay, it will be in a form of a solid, and they will ask you in a particular salt which acid radical is present and which basic radical is present. I mean, you will have to identify which cation and which anion is present in a given salt. This is what we mean by qualitative analysis. Finding of quality of a salt. Here quality means what? What cation is there and what anion is there. So identifying positive part and negative part of a salt is what we mean by qualitative analysis. Okay, fine. See, now qualitative analysis is done in the form of 3 steps. Okay, so first thing that we do in practicals is preliminary test. So we have something called preliminary test. Okay, so later in the next step we will identify acid radical. So identification of acid radical. Okay, so after identifying acid radical, then we will go for identification of basic radical. Okay, so this is how in a step by step quality of a salt is analyzed. Okay, so what do we do it in a preliminary test? So here in case of preliminary test, what we do is we will identify the physical nature of salt. Okay, so physical nature in the sense we will decide whether a salt is crystalline or amorphous. Okay, so crystalline in the sense crystals are very clear, right? Just like if you look at a salt, if you look at a sugar, you know, the solid is there in the form of crystals. So crystals are very easy to identify, right? Amorphous in the sense powdery form. If you take up a talcum powder, you know, it is very soft and it is fine powdery form, isn't it? So that kind of a salt if you get, you will write it as amorphous. Okay, so based on the physical nature, actually you can't identify what cation and what anion is there, but you know, in most of the cases, suppose if you get amorphous salt, carbonate ion can be present. So the acid radical carbonate can be present. I mean, it is not true for every case, okay, in most of the case. That's it. So now after finding out the physical nature, then we will identify the color. We will test the color. Okay, see, usually for your practical examination, colored salts they will not give you. They will give you all colorless salts only. Suppose in case, okay, so if you have you know, light pink colored salt, okay, so if your salt is pink color, then definitely that would contain magnesium. Then definitely that would contain manganese. So manganese salts are pink in color. Okay, so if you have a salt which is of blue in color, then it is copper salt. It can be a copper sulfate. Okay, so like this, based on a color, you can identify what kind of basic radical. See, this is a metal, right? That means basic radical. So that can be identified. But anyway, colored salts will not be given for your practical examination. Fine. And next is, we will also check the solubility here. Solubility is checked. I mean, first we will see whether a salt is soluble in water or not. Okay, if it is soluble, okay. If it is not soluble in water, then we will see whether it is soluble in hot water or not. If the salt is not soluble in hot water, then we will try to check its solubility in acid. So we will take dilute HCl or dilute H2SO4 and we will see whether it is soluble or not. If it is not soluble, then we will test the solubility with concentrated HCl. Okay, so even if it is not soluble in concentrated HCl, then we will take the combination of HCl and HNO3. Okay, so 1:3 ratio we will take. I mean, this is what we mean by aqua regia. Okay, so if the salt is not soluble even in aqua regia, then it is considered to be insoluble salt. Okay, so this is how solubility is checked step by step. First with water, if not soluble, hot water. Here, if not soluble, dilute HCl, concentrated HCl, aqua regia. If the salt is not soluble in all these cases, then it is declared to be insoluble salt. Okay, so this way, you know, we do solubility test, we check the color, we check the physical state, and those you know, forms of testing a salt is what we mean by preliminary test. Now, what is important is to understand how to identify acid radical and how to identify basic radical. What are the different acid radicals you have in your syllabus? How do you identify? What confirmatory tests you have to remember? You know, the chemical reaction part of it can be asked for your competitive examination, and that is what we are going to discuss. So first in this video, let me cover the identification of acid radical, and in the next video we will discuss the identification of basic radical. See here, the entire acid radicals we divide into 3 groups, and then group by group we will test and we will analyze. Okay, see, suppose a given salt, a given salt, to a given salt, initially we will add dilute HCl. Okay, or you can also add dilute H2SO4 also. You can add hydrochloric acid or you can add sulfuric acid. Okay, so on adding dilute acid, suppose if you are getting a colorless gas in the form of brisk effervescence. Okay, so you must have observed this in your chemical laboratory, right? Any carbonate salt, the moment you add acid, so that bubble thing would come out. So that is what we mean by brisk effervescence. So if you observe any colorless, odorless, okay, so usually the gas is odorless also. Odor in the sense what? Smell. It will not have any smell. It is not harmful. Okay, so such a gas if you observe, then it confirms the presence of carbonate radical. Okay, so which acid radical is confirmed? Carbonate radical is confirmed. So usually the colorless gas is actually due to the liberation of carbon dioxide. Okay, so any carbonate containing salt, if you have taken, on adding HCl, this fellow would react with HCl, salt would react with HCl to give which gas? Carbon dioxide. Okay, so it is this carbon dioxide which is coming out in the form of brisk effervescence, bubble kind of gas. Okay, so what acid radical is confirmed there? Carbonate radical is confirmed, right? Suppose if you are getting a gas which has a smell of rotten eggs, then that gas is nothing but H2S gas. Okay, so it will have a very bad smelling gas. Okay, so H2S gas is liberated. When does H2S gas can get liberated? When a salt has got an acid radical called sulfide ion. So this is a sulfide acid radical and this is a carbonate acid radical. Okay, so suppose if you are getting a brown fumes, then the gas that is coming out is nitrogen dioxide. So you will get nitrogen dioxide if your salt has the acid radical nitrite. So what is this? Nitrite. Okay, so nitrite radical. So likewise you actually have in this category you have sulfite radical and you also have acetate radical that comes in group 1. So these are group 1 acid radicals. Okay, so I told you acid radicals are divided into group 1 radical, okay, so group 2 radicals and group 3 radicals. Okay, so which all come under group 1 radical? Carbonate radical, sulfide radical, nitrite radical, sulfite radical and acetate radical. But these 2 radicals, they are not there for your competitive examination. They have not being mentioned in your syllabus. So I am not going to tell anything about these radicals. So it is enough that you remember about carbonate radical, sulfide radical and nitrite radical under group 1. Okay, so if you have a carbonate containing salt, definitely colorless gas will be released in the form of brisk effervescence. If you have sulfide radical containing salt, the moment you add HCl, you will get a very bad smelling gas which has got a rotten egg smell, that is H2S gas. H2S gas is liberated only if your salt has sulfide radical. Okay, and if you see a brown fumes coming out soon after adding HCl, then it means that the brown fumes is actually nitrogen dioxide gas, and this gas would be liberated only if you have a salt of nitrite. Okay, so if this guy is there in a salt, and that would react with HCl or H2SO4 to give nitrogen dioxide gas, which is actually brown in color. So this is all about, group 1 radicals. Suppose for a given salt, on adding dilute HCl or H2SO4, if you have not observed any of these radicals, then you will start adding concentrated HCl or concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, see, if these radicals are absent only, then you will go for testing whether group 2 radicals are there or not. Okay, so how do you test the presence of group 2 radicals? It is by adding concentrated HCl or concentrated sulfuric acid. So the moment you add concentrated HCl or sulfuric acid to a salt, if you get a colorless pungent smelling gas, then it is nothing but chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is a very dangerous, and you'll have that white color, very strong pungent smelling gas coming outside. Okay, so that means your salt has got which acid radical? Chloride radical. Okay, so presence of chloride radical gets detected in case if you observe the pungent smelling colorless gas. Okay, fine. And if you observe, reddish brown gas coming outside, okay, then it means it is a bromine gas. So bromine gas would come out only if your salt has got a bromide ion. So this is the next group 2 acid radical. Suppose if you observe a violet gas coming outside, then that violet gas is nothing but a iodine vapors. So iodine vapors you get whenever your salt has got iodide ion. Okay, so this is a iodide ion. Suppose if you observe brown vapors coming out, if you observe a brown vapors coming out, then your salt has got nitrate acid radical. Okay, don't get confused. Nitrate is a group 2 acid radical, whereas nitrite is a group 1 acid radical. Okay, so nitrite gets identified on adding dilute HCl. Nitrate gets identified on adding concentrated HCl. Okay, so you still have some more acid radical in the list of group 2, but I am not going to tell all of them because only this much is there in your syllabus. Okay, so now suppose if you do not get, okay, so if you do not get any fumes or any gas on adding concentrated HCl, then it confirms, the presence of certain radicals like sulfate, phosphate and borate. Okay, so if no gas on adding concentrated HCl, then it means sulfate radical is present, or phosphate radical can be present, or borate radical can be present, but these two are not there in your syllabus. You get to study only sulfate. Okay, so this is how initially with the help of HCl we can identify whether group 1 radical is there. If group 1 radical is not there in a salt, then we will identify by adding concentrated HCl, and looking at the color of the fumes we can confirm or we can identify whether which acid radical is there. Okay, if no gas comes out, then it is identified that group 3 acid radical, that is sulfate, may be present. Okay, so this is the basic information that everybody must know. you should know which acid radicals come under group 1, which acid radicals are considered as group 2, which acid radicals are considered as group 3. First you will test group 1. If no group 1 radical, you will go for group 2. If no group 2 radical, you will go for group 3. Okay, so now what we will do is, suppose if CO3 minus 2 radical is identified. Suppose if I observe colorless gas here with brisk effervescence, then this radical is present. How do you confirm it? Confirmatory test. For every radical, let us learn the confirmatory test, what chemical equation, why the reaction takes place, what happens. You know, this part you have to concentrate a lot for the competitive examinations. Okay, fine. Let us go for the confirmatory test. First we will discuss all the confirmatory test of group 1, later all the confirmatory test of group 2, then confirmatory test for the sulfate we will discuss. See, first and foremost, let us discuss about the confirmatory test for carbonate. Okay, confirmatory test of carbonate ion. See, once you add dilute HCl, if you observe brisk effervescence, then carbonate ions are detected, but later you have to confirm, right? So, as a confirmatory test of carbonate, we will perform lime water test. It is called as lime water test, which is very, very famous, that you have been studied right from your schooling actually. Okay, say, imagine you have a test tube, right? So, here you took a salt, you added dilute HCl. So, immediately you will observe a brisk effervescence. So, you would observe a gas coming out, right? So, these vapors, these carbon dioxide vapors, if you pass it through calcium hydroxide solution. So, here calcium hydroxide solution is what we call it as lime water. Okay, so what would happen is calcium hydroxide solution would turn milky. So, let me write the equation. Suppose you have a carbonate salt, okay, so cation can be anything. So, let me take cation as sodium for simplicity. Cation can be calcium, cation can be magnesium, cation can be ammonium, whatever, we don't know. We have not yet found the cation, right? Our thing is to confirm the presence of CO3 minus 2. So, suppose let me take a salt, sodium carbonate, okay, Na2CO3. On adding HCl, you will get, you know, salt, carbon dioxide and water as the products. Okay, so what kind of a salt you get? Na and Cl. Okay, so NaCl, and this carbon would come out as carbon dioxide and water. So this is that carbon dioxide has come out. So this carbon dioxide you are passing to lime water, that is calcium hydroxide solution, which is colorless. Okay, so this fellow is called as lime water. So the moment you pass carbon dioxide to lime water, you would observe the formation of calcium carbonate, which is white in color. So you will observe that milky precipitate is nothing but calcium carbonate. Okay, so along with that, you would get water, guys. Okay, so suppose to this combination, if you pass some more amount of carbon dioxide, excess carbon dioxide when you pass, okay, so you will get white PPT here, right? So to this white PPT, okay, to this white PPT, if you pass excess carbon dioxide, that would become again a colorless solution, because this calcium carbonate on passing of some more amount of carbon dioxide would get converted into calcium bicarbonate. Okay, so this calcium bicarbonate is a colorless solution, right? So this whole thing is a confirmatory test for carbonate ion. Okay, so maybe for your practical examination, if you just remember what color change, what precipitate, that would be fine. So you will actually write in this pattern, right? So what do you write? Test, observation and inference. So what do you write in the test column? You take a salt, add dilute HCl. What is the observation? Brisk effervescence. Okay, so that you pass it to calcium hydroxide solution. What do you get? White precipitate. Just in the words, if you mention the reaction, it is enough. but for competitive examination, you should know the chemical reactions behind it. Okay, so you have to properly practice this chemical equation exactly on doing what color change is happening. Okay, why it is happening, what type of compound is formed, all that you should remember for competitive exam. So better you practice this chemical equation. Okay, most of the equations are very simple. This chemical reaction you have been studying from class 10 onwards, isn't it? So any carbonate, on adding HCl, you'll always get salt, carbon dioxide and water. Again, how do you test the presence of carbon dioxide? When this fellow passed on to lime water, if lime water turns milky, you will confirm the presence of carbon dioxide. Why does it turn milky? Because calcium carbonate is formed. Again, to this fellow, excess CO2 is passed, that would become colorless. Why? Because calcium bicarbonate is formed. Okay, so this is the confirmatory test for carbonate ion. So now let us understand confirmatory test. Confirmatory test for sulfide. Okay. So what you will do is, you will take your salt and you will add HCl or dilute H2SO4, isn't it? So on adding HCl or H2SO4 to a salt, you will get rotten egg smell. It is because H2S gas is liberated, guys. Okay, say suppose, you know what, whenever you detect any acid radical except carbonate, okay, except carbonate, whenever you detect acid radical, instead of using original salt, this salt we will convert to carbonate form, soda extract form. Okay, see, the reason is, you know what, first let me tell you how do we prepare soda extract. Instead of taking a direct salt, we will take a soda extract. Soda extract means, so salt and sodium carbonate we will mix it. Okay, so on mixing you will get a liquid. Okay, so that liquid is called as soda extract. Soda extract. So what actually happens is, whatever the basic radical is there, no, so that basic radical is replaced by sodium. Okay, so the reason for replacing with sodium is because in these reactions, I mean the reactions that we conduct to determine the acid radical, you know, in those reactions, the basic radical may interfere. Suppose if the basic radical is barium or strontium, you know, these basic radicals are usually insoluble and also they will interfere with all these reactions that we are doing as a confirmatory test. So to avoid that problem, you know, what we do is, salt itself we will convert in the form of soda extract just by treating with sodium carbonate. Okay, so you can take a direct salt or you can take a soda extract. Actually, practically speaking, in your chemical laboratories, nobody will convert the salt into soda extract, but if you go for the graduation level, you do that. Okay, so but anyway, you need to know the theory behind it. Suppose in the exam they'll ask you why you have to convert the salt in the form of soda extract to determine acid radical. Only to determine acid radical, you know, we convert the salt in the form of soda extract and then we do all the confirmatory test. Okay, but not for carbonate. Okay, so if it is any other acid radical like sulfide, nitrite, nitrate, chlorine, bromine, you know, we prefer taking soda extract instead of the actual salt. Okay, why? Because if the salt has these basic radical, we don't know whether we have these basic radicals or not when we are determining, right? If these guys are there, they will interfere in the reactions. Okay, so that is the reason we convert that to soda extract, right? Fine. So this is the story why we convert to soda extract and what exactly we mean by soda extract. So now you can take a salt or you can take a soda extract. On adding HCl, what do you observe is if there is a sulfide radical, you know, this sulfide radical would combine with hydrogen to form H2S gas. So that H2S gas is a very, very bad smelling gas. So now what do we do? In case if you pass that H2S gas to lead acetate, okay, CH3COO twice Pb, lead acetate, what would happen is, you know, lead sulfide. See, this is a negative part, this is a positive part. All ionic reactions would happen this way only here. You no need to mug up the product. See, which is a negative part here? Sulfur. Which is a positive part here? Lead. So, negative part of one reagent would combine with a positive part of another reagent. That is how you can write as a products here. Okay, so you will get lead sulfide, which is actually a black PPT. So remember the main substance. Byproduct, even if you don't remember, not an issue. What is the byproduct you will get? See, positive part combined with the negative part. Negative part is acetate. Here positive part is hydrogen. So what do you get? Acetic acid you will get as a byproduct, isn't it? So this is one of the confirmatory test of sulfide. Okay, so this is test, confirmatory test number 1. Let us see confirmatory test number 2. Okay, so it is called as sodium nitroprusside test. What we do here is, we can take a salt or we can take a soda extract. Suppose if I take a soda extract here. Okay, so soda extract, what is the cation present? Sodium. Anion is what? Sulfide only. So what is the formula? Na2S. Okay, suppose for the soda extract which is having sulfide ion, for that if I add a reagent sodium nitroprusside, remember the formula of sodium nitroprusside? Na2FeCN5NO. Okay, so this is sodium nitroprusside. And adding this, what would happen is, this sulfur is there, no? It will go inside. Okay, inside the square bracket, it will go. So what do you observe? What is the product you would observe here? Na4, this sodium gets added to this, so it becomes Na4 FeCN5NOS. So this is that violet colored PPT you will get. Okay, so this is all about sodium nitroprusside test. So two confirmatory tests you remember for sulfide. One is whatever H2S gas you get, that on passing to lead acetate, black color precipitate, and to a soda extract or directly to a salt, when you add sodium nitroprusside, violet color precipitate. Do remember along with the formula, that is very, very important. Okay, so that is all about confirmatory test of sulfide and confirmatory test of carbonate. Now let us see the confirmatory test for nitrite ion. If we talk about confirmatory test for nitrite, we need to study two tests. Okay, so this is nitrite. This is nitrite. NO3 minus is nitrate. Nitrate comes in a second group, whereas nitrite comes in a first group acid radical. Okay, so what do we do here is, we take a salt, okay, so or we can take a soda extract. Okay, so soda extract is prepared just to prevent the interference of some of the basic radicals in these respective reactions. Okay, so we can take soda extract or salt. We all know on adding dilute HCl, you know, we get NO2 gas. You know how you get this NO2 gas? This NO2 gas, which is brown in color, no, it is obtained in step-by-step reaction. So let us see what actually happens. Suppose if I take a soda extract, okay, imagine my NO2 minus is present in the form of NaNO2. Okay, so on adding HCl, what do I get? See, positive part of this fellow reacts with negative part. Okay, so positive part and negative part NaCl. So what is left out, guys? Left out is H and this side is NO2. So nitrous acid, this is very famous. nitrous acid you will get. This is not nitric acid, nitrous acid. What is its oxidation state? +1 plus x minus 4 is equal to 0. That means x is equal to +3. Okay, so this is nitrous acid. And now this nitrous acid is actually unstable here. So that is the reason it will undergo disproportionation reaction. It will undergo disproportionation reaction. Okay, it will disproportionate to nitric acid, which has got a oxidation state +5, and it will also disproportionate to NO. Okay, nitric oxide. So this is nitric oxide, which has got a oxidation state +2. Okay, right? So +3 got converted to +5 +3 got converted to +2 also. So both oxidation reduction happened. So it is disproportionation reaction. So now this NO is there. No, it would combine with oxygen to form NO2. This is how this much process has happened to get this NO2. Okay, so now this NO2, okay, so the so-called NO2 is actually, it is the best oxidizing agent. Okay, it is the best oxidizing agent. So the moment you add this to Ki, you know, in Ki, I is there as I minus. So if I minuses gets oxidized, if electron gets removed, what will happen? Neutral I, two I's can combine and you will get a iodine vapor. So you will have iodine vapors and automatically this gets reduced to NO. So whatever, this is important to remember. So the moment NO2 gas is passed through Ki, okay, so you will be taking a Ki solution, you will pass NO2 gas. So immediately that Ki would have converted to iodine. How do you confirm that this is iodine vapors? You pass these iodine vapors onto a starch, right? So what color? The starch gets converted into blue color. So the moment you observe a blue color, okay, then it is confirmed that iodine. If iodine has there in the sense, definitely this gas is NO2. How does NO2 gets produced? When does NO2 gets produced? NO2 gets produced only if you have which acid radical in a salt? NO2 minus. Okay, so this is the first confirmatory test, guys. Very, very commonly doing confirmatory test in the laboratory. Okay, so even a brown ring test also you can do. So brown ring test usually we will study as a confirmatory test for nitrate, no? So this brown ring test will work to confirm both nitrate radical and nitrate radical. So I'll explain this brown ring test in the next group radical. So when I talk about NO3 minus, I'll speak about this brown ring test. But do remember that this brown ring test also can be used to confirm NO2 minus ion also. Okay, fine. And now third one, let us also study. You have one named reaction, you know, Gris-Lossway test. Okay, so here we use the help of diazotization reaction, guys. Diazotization. Okay, so we know that you know the moment NaNO2, suppose if the salt is sodium nitrite, on reaction with HCl you will get HNO2. Okay, so nitrous acid. And this nitrous acid, suppose if it reacts with aniline and aniline like things, say suppose if I take this particular substance, this is called as sulfanilic acid, isn't it? Sulfanilic acid. So to this sulfanilic acid I will add HNO2. So what do I get? I will get diazo compound. So this diazotization mechanism you have studied in organic chemistry, no? So now I am not explaining this in a detailed way. So this is how you get a particular diazo substance. And now to this if you add one naphthylamine, one naphthylamine, you will get red dye. You will get red dye as a product, guys. Okay, so this is another chemical reaction, but anyway, this is not practically done in the chemical laboratories for 12th level. Okay, you will observe this in the higher classes, but anyway, since it is mentioned in your practical lab manual, I am explaining this because whatever NCERT manual is there, from that only questions can be framed even for the competitive exam. So it is better to revise all those chemical reactions which are there in the lab manual for whatever acid radicals that they have mentioned in a syllabus. So these are the group 1 radicals they mentioned in a syllabus: carbonate, nitrite and sulfide, and have shown you their confirmatory test. Okay, so that is all about group 1 radical. Now let us understand the confirmatory test for group 2 radicals, that is chlorine, bromine, iodine and nitrate. If we look at the confirmatory test for group 2 acid radical, first let us talk about confirmatory of chloride radical. Confirmatory of chloride. Okay, fine. And later we will talk about bromide, iodide, and after that nitrate. Okay, so first let us talk about the confirmatory of chloride. So whenever we take a salt, or when you take a soda extract, okay, so soda extract, suppose in the soda extract your Cl minus is present in the form of NaCl, right? So this NaCl, soon after adding dilute H2SO4 or dilute hydrochloric acid, usually in case if chloride ion is there, better to add dilute sulfuric acid instead of HCl. Okay, so the moment you add dilute sulfuric acid, what would happen? See, positive part of this would react with negative part of this. That means sodium on combination with sulfate, you will get sodium sulfate, and this is HCl. It is this HCl gas which is a pungent colorless gas that is coming outside gas. Okay, got to know? So it is this HCl. How do you confirm that it is HCl gas usually? This HCl, when you pass through ammonia, you will get the fumes of ammonium chloride, guys. Okay, got to know? So this is how you will confirm the presence of HCl. Fine. So now we got to know what gas you are actually getting as that pungent smelling gas the moment you add dilute sulfuric acid to salt directly or to a soda extract. Okay, fine. And now, how do you confirm that there is a presence of Cl minus here? So there are 3 tests I am going to give you. So one is a very, very famous silver nitrate, on using silver nitrate. Suppose I will take Cl minus, a salt containing chloride. Okay, so I will add AgNO3. Excess AgNO3 when I add, silver goes in the place of nitrate. I mean, this is a positive part, this is a negative part of a salt. So both of them would combine and you will get Ag, and this AgCl is a white curdy precipitate. Okay, so the moment you pass excess AgNO3 to chlorine containing salt or solution, you will get white PPT, that is AgCl. Now this AgCl is there, no? This AgCl on passing through ammonium hydroxide, you will get a complex, a complex, silver complex, AgNH3 twice plus. So this silver complex is a colorless complex. So it is a colorless complex, guys. Okay, so this is one confirmatory test. And the second confirmatory test, very simple, by adding MnO2 plus Cl minus, a salt containing chloride ion, okay, along with H2SO4. Okay, so you would get, and this is a oxidizing agent here, it will oxidize Cl minus to Cl2, which is a greenish gas. So this Cl2 is a greenish gas that you will observe. Okay, fine. So this is second confirmatory test. And third confirmatory test is very, very important, which is chromyl chloride test. Okay, so this is very commonly conducted confirmatory test for chlorine in the chemical laboratories, guys. Okay, so let us understand what we do in a chromyl chloride test. See, we take salt containing Cl minus. Okay, so salt would be having Cl minus, and to this when you add potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7, and slowly you will add H2SO4 to the sides of the test tube. Okay, suppose if this is a test tube, so you have taken a salt, to this orange color K2Cr2O7 you will add, which is in orange color. Okay, and here slowly you will add H2SO4. Okay, so immediately you will actually observe, precipitate, a yellow color solution you would observe, that is nothing but chromyl chloride, CrO2Cl2. Okay, so this is our chromyl chloride, guys. Right, it is the best oxidizing agent that you studied in organic chemistry. So if you can remember the ETARD reaction that you studied to form the benzaldehyde, this is the oxidizing agent we normally use, isn't it? So chromyl chloride, and this chromyl chloride, when you pass, okay, second step I am showing, CrO2Cl2, when you pass through a base like sodium hydroxide, sodium chromate you will get, Na2CrO4. Okay, and this is actually almost like a colorless solution only. Okay, or slight yellow color you will have, and this again on passing to lead acetate, CH3COO twice Pb. Okay, so Pb. So lead acetate, when you pass, lead chromate you will get, PbCrO4 you will get, and this is a LOPPT. So this is actually a LOPPT. Okay, so these are the reactions of chromyl chloride. Okay, so you have to practice any salt that contains Cl minus, to that when you add potassium dichromate in presence of acid, initial compound that you get is acidic chromyl chloride. Chromyl chloride is acidic in nature. That chromyl chloride, when you pass it to a base called NaOH, sodium chromate you will get. Sodium chromate on treating with lead acetate, just exchange takes place. See, sodium gets replaced with lead, right? So lead chromate, here nothing is there to by heart here. Almost equations are like, positive part exchange, or negative part exchange takes place. Okay, so you get LOPPT. Okay, so these are the three equations that you need to remember as a confirmatory test for chloride ion. Okay, so actually in the practicals you will not be doing first one and second one. Third one you will be doing in your laboratory as a confirmatory test. Okay, but you are studying this for your competitive examinations, where you need to remember all the three as it is mentioned in the NCERT syllabus. Okay, so now let us understand the confirmatory reactions of bromide ion. So whenever you take salt or soda extract, okay, so for this, whenever you add HCl or H2SO4, okay, you will get reddish brown vapors, that is nothing but Br2 vapors. So these are our reddish brown vapors, guys. Okay, so actually bromine vapors are toxic, and it is also corrosive. Okay, and it's very dangerous to inhale. Fine, so this is the vapors that you are getting. Now let us see a confirmatory test here. So the first confirmatory test as similar to this only. Okay, say suppose if you have bromine containing salt, or in the soda extract your Br minus is there in the form of NaBr, isn't it? So to this, when you add excess AgNO3, what would happen? This NO3 minus ions gets replaced with Br. So AgBr you will get, which is light yellow color precipitate. Okay, and this is, you know, partially soluble. It is partially soluble in ammonium hydroxide, guys. Not completely soluble. It is very difficult to soluble in ammonium hydroxide. And here it is easily soluble. AgCl precipitate, which is white, no, that is easily soluble in ammonium hydroxide to form this complex. But here to form the respective complex, it's quite difficult. Okay, so this is one. Second one is just similar to this only. So what we will do? MnO2 we add, right? And then chlorine minus, Br minus, salt containing Br minus. To this H2SO4 when I add, you know, it oxidizes Br minus to Br2 vapors. Okay, and what else you will get? Byproducts, manganese sulfate you will get. Okay, got to know. And then H2O as another byproduct. Anyway, forget about the byproducts. Consider Br2. And you know, when you pass it through starch, you know, it will convert starch. When you pass these vapors onto a starch, you know, the starch gets converted into yellow color. When you put iodine onto a starch, you will observe blue color, right? Violet color. Similarly, bromine, when you put onto a starch, you would observe light yellow color. Okay, fine. So that confirms the presence of bromine gas actually. And now coming to a third reaction, say here, chromyl chloride is not possible. Okay, so chromyl chloride is not possible, guys. It will not work out. Why? Because you know, CrO2Br2, after you add potassium dichromate and sulfuric acid to Br minus containing salt, this is what the product that should form. No, this is highly unstable, guys. So that is the reason you can't expect chromyl chloride test for bromine. Okay, so you don't have a test like chromyl bromide test is not there. Similarly, chromyl iodide test also is not there. It is only possible for the conformation of Cl minus. It is not possible for the conformation of Br minus as well as I minus. Okay, but instead of this, you know, instead of chromyl chloride, we will perform a layer test here. Layer test. This is very, very interesting, guys. So what they do here is, you know, they will take a test tube. So here they will take a Br minus containing salt and they will add chlorine gas. So they will pass chlorine gas, lot of chlorine gas, and along with that they will take a organic solvent CCl4, okay, and chloroform CHCl3. Both are organic solvents, so they will stay as one layer. Okay, so the moment chlorine gas is passed, you know what? Chlorine is the oxidizing agent. It will oxidize Br minus to Br2, where this Br2 vapors goes to this organic layer, okay, and this organic layer gets converted to yellow in color, or you know, brown orange. Sometimes you will also observe brown orange. So brown orange is actually a common one, but few times you can also observe yellow. Okay, got to know? So hope you are clear. The salt they will take, which containing Br minus. They will add this solvent, organic solvent, which stays on a topmost layer. Okay, the moment you add Cl2 is oxidizing agent. It will oxidize Br minus to Br2. Okay, so Br2 vapors, the moment they pass to this organic layer completely, it looks in which color? Brown orange color. So if organic layer looks as brown orange layer, then it is confirmed that here Br minus was present. Okay, so how do you write it? It's very simple. Suppose if I take a soda extract, in soda extract our Br minus is there in the form of NaBr. So when I add Cl2, you know, the halogen which is smaller than this, when you add, this will oxidize this fellow. Okay, actually this reaction you studied in a P block elements in 17th group elements chapter. So it is not a new reaction. So compared to Br minus, this fellow is smaller. So when you add smaller halogen molecules, they will act as oxidizing agent. They will oxidize bigger halide ions. Okay, so Br minus gets converted into Br2, and what is the byproduct you will get? NaCl you will get. So the entire reaction takes place in presence of organic solvents called CCl4 and CHCl3. Okay, carbon tetrachloride and chloroform combination will act as a solvent layer. Okay, whatever Br2 is formed, that will go into solvent layer, guys. Okay, so this is what we mean by layer test. So here instead of chromyl chloride, we confirm the presence of bromine with the help of layer test. Okay. So similarly, confirmation of I minus is exactly similar to these equations, guys. Okay. So the moment you add salt is there which containing iodide ion. Okay. The moment you add concentrated HCl or concentrated sulfuric acid, what would happen? Okay. So for all group 2 acid radicals, you should add concentrated acid, isn't it? It can be a HCl or H2SO4. So you will have iodine vapors. Okay, so how do you confirm that these are iodine vapors? When you pass it through starch solution, the starch solution would become violet or blue in color. Okay, so this is the test. Now confirmatory test is exactly similar to these things. Suppose if you take I minus to this, any salt containing I minus, you add AgNO3, what precipitate you will get? AgI you will get, which is a dark yellow in color, and this is actually insoluble. This is insoluble in ammonium hydroxide. Okay, AgCl is soluble, AgBr is partially soluble, whereas AgI is insoluble. Okay, and the second test is same thing. MnO2, when you add to iodide containing salt along with H2SO4, you know, this I minus gets oxidized to I2 vapors. And third confirmatory test is layer test. We can use here also, layer test. That means when you take I minus containing salt, you add chlorine. Okay, so chlorine oxidizes I minus to I2. So this would happen in presence of CCl4 and CHCl3. So here the iodine that is formed will come to this organic layer, and this organic layer looks violet in color. Okay, if it looks violet in color, it confirms the presence of iodine. So this is how chloride ion, bromide ion and iodide ions are confirmed with the help of these confirmatory tests. Okay, so here 3 we have studied, here 3 confirmatory tests, here 3 confirmatory tests. Please compare and learn. You will feel it easy. It just requires a little bit of practice. That's it. Okay, so now let us go for confirmatory test for nitrate, which is a brown ring test we call, and this is very famous and very important. See, first let us discuss about how we do testing of nitrate. Okay, so when we take a salt containing nitrate ion, to that we add H2SO4, right? So the moment you add H2SO4, you know what? Suppose I am taking a soda extract. Okay, so let me take soda extract. In soda extract, whatever the cation that gets replaced with sodium, no? So let me take NaNO3 for simplicity. Soda extract is nothing but this compound is there. You added concentrated H2SO4 here. So what would happen is, you know what? This is a positive part, this is a negative part of this. So this combines and you will get HNO3. And positive part of this would combine with negative part of sulfuric acid, you will get Na2SO4. That means here you are getting a nitric acid, right? So you are actually getting a nitric acid. And this nitric acid is there, no? This nitric acid, you know, it gets reduced to NO2 plus H2O. Okay, so this is how you are observing a brown fumes. What are those brown fumes? It is NO2. And actually, when you add copper turnings, right? So the moment you add copper turnings, you will observe more and more NO2 gas coming out. Okay, say for example, you have taken a salt containing nitrate. To that you added H2SO4. Upon that, if you add copper, more and more NO2, that is more and more bright fumes you will observe. Okay, because copper makes the reaction faster. Okay, it facilitates the reaction to happen in a better way, faster way. Okay, so what actually happens is, suppose your salt is sodium nitrate, NaNO3. To that you added H2SO4. Upon that, yes, this is a concentrated acid. Upon that you added copper turnings and you have shaken it nicely, or you will heat that, isn't it? You will heat that particular test tube. So when you heat, what would happen? You know what? More and more NO2 gets produced, and in a solution you will observe a copper sulfate. You will also observe a solution turning blue in color. Why? Because of the formation of copper sulfate. Okay, so sodium sulfate is formed. I mean, if the cation is sodium sulfate is formed, copper sulfate is formed, plus water is formed. But more and more, this brown fumes you will observe, okay, that it is coming out from a test tube. So this is a testing with copper turnings that you would do. And confirmatory test is called as brown ring test, isn't it? It's called brown ring test. So what do you do here? You will take a test tube. So here you will take a salt containing nitrate, right? And you will add ferrous sulfate solution, and also you will add H2SO4 solution, concentrated H2SO4 solution. You would, if on adding all of them, okay, if you keep it in one place without shaking, you would observe a brown ring that is formed here. So it is actually a coordination complex that is getting formed. Let us see the reaction. Okay, see here, what actually happens is, see the salt is there, which has got nitrate ion. To this, the moment you add H2SO4, what would happen? It would get converted into HNO3. Yes, the same thing, nitric acid you will get, right? And this nitric acid is a oxidizing agent. Okay, so nitric acid is a very good oxidizing agent. Now, ferrous sulfate you are adding, right? So here Fe is there in the form of Fe+2 ion. So you have added HNO3. Now HNO3 is there in this solution only. Ferrous sulfate is there. So this fellow will oxidize this. I mean Fe+2 gets converted into ferric ions. Okay, got to know. So this is what the reaction happening here, right? So you would observe ferric ions, okay, and this gets reduced. Always when oxidizing agent, after it does oxidation, it gets reduced. So it will get reduced to NO. And later, Fe+3 ion, NO ion, I mean NO molecules on combination with water, you will get a complex Fe H2O5 NO, okay, SO4. So this is that brown complex. You can also write this formula as FeNOSO4, nitrosoferrous sulfate. You will call this as nitroso, okay, ferrous sulfate we say. Okay, so which is that, I mean, the moment you add water to this, it would stay in the form of complex form. Okay, so this is a complex which is a brown colored complex. Okay, so because of this complex formation, you will observe brown ring at the center. Okay, so this is the confirmatory test. So here nothing guys, HNO3 which is formed, no, so that is an oxidizing agent. It will oxidize Fe+2 ions to Fe+3. This gets reduced, it will get reduced to NO. Now this and this water on combination, you would observe that brown colored complex. You can also write the same formula like this, excluding water, and you call this complex name as nitrosoferrous sulfate. Okay, so far we have seen the confirmatory test for group 2 acid radicals. Now we will move on to group 3 acid radical. So you get to study only actually 3 radicals are there under group 3. Borate is there, phosphate is there, sulfate is there, but you need to study only sulfate. So let me give you confirmatory test for sulfate. Okay, so this is very simple, guys. You take a salt or you can take a soda extract. Okay, soda extract. So if you are taking a soda extract, cation is sodium. Okay, so let me take sodium sulfate, suppose, if it is there. To this, when you add barium chloride, double displacement reaction takes place, cation exchange. So if barium comes in the place of sodium, sodium goes in the place of barium, what do you expect? You would expect barium sulfate plus NaCl. This barium sulfate is a white PPT, guys. So this is a white PPT. Okay, so this is one confirmatory test. Another confirmatory test you can do, that is when you take a soda extract contains sodium sulfate, lead acetate. Okay, so you can also add lead acetate here. So this is our lead acetate reaction. So what do you get? You will get lead sulfate, which is also white in color. Okay, and lead sulfate, and what is the byproduct? Sodium acetate, CH3COO Na. Right, that is the byproduct. Forget about byproduct, concentrate the main products. Both are white colored PPTs you will get. Okay, so that is all about confirmatory reactions of sulfate. So with this we have completed detection of acid radicals, and in the next video I will tell you the detection of basic radicals. Right, so there are 6 groups of basic radicals along with 0 group. So altogether 7 different groups we have to study. We will discuss in the next video.